Ryan Brzezinski, an athlete graduating Argyle High School in 2025, has been playing varsity golf for 3 years now, but has faced her life with one glaring challenge.
Hi, my name is Ryan Brzezinski. I won the Texas 4A Girls Golf State Championship my freshman year, and I was born with bilateral hip dysplasia.
We first heard that something was wrong with Ryan when she was 3 days old before we left the hospital. The on-call pediatrician came in and did the full physical exam and told us that she had bilateral hip dysplasia, which means that essentially that she was born with no hip sockets.
Hip dysplasia, also known as DDH or developmental dysplasia of the hips, is a condition where the ball of the bone on your femur doesn't fit into the spot that it's supposed to on your pelvis well. So the ball doesn't fit in the socket the way that it's supposed to.
As a mom, I think the hardest part about learning that there's something wrong with your child is knowing that you can't fix it. Knowing you can't fix it, and then also questioning what you could have done differently. As a parent, I think, and as a new parent, you believe that your job is to protect them and to do everything in your power to keep things from happening or avoid things that will hurt them or prevent them from being able to do other things. And as a parent in this case, I was helpless. I couldn't do anything in this situation but watch other people that were professionals rely on them, and that was really hard. I think there was a lot of guilt too as a new mom. What did I do wrong? There was nothing that I did. Doctors and professionals told me again and again, bilateral hip dysplasia is a result of her being breech, which means with her being breech, and I carried her breech, there was no gravity to push her legs towards her hip sockets where they should have been. So like a grinding stone. There was no way for her while she was developing to create a hip socket. And so there's nothing I could have done, although as a new mom, that was one of the hardest things. What could I have done different?
For treatment of hip dysplasia, the milder cases don't require anything but observation from the doctor. For the more severe cases, infants under the age of 6 months will have a device that they wear called a Pavlik harness, and that harness holds their hips in a flexed and out position, flexed and abducted, and what that does is that gets the ball in the socket with the most amount of coverage, and it holds it there, and the babies wear the brace for 24 hours a day for usually 6 to 8 weeks.
The doctor took some time to explain it to us, and then obviously fear kicked in first. Fear of the unknown. Then it was, kind of what's next. He kind of laid out the process of what was next, and then we had to go see an orthopedic. The anxiety of what does this mean for our child, because we had never heard of it before. We had no idea what the next steps were. So they sent us to an orthopedic, and that started that process of kind of understanding what was wrong with her and then how we were gonna get through it.
My hip sockets weren't developed, and so after I was born I was put in a brace for a long time, and my left hip healed correctly and my right hip didn't, so I had to have surgery at 13 months. So after that I was in a body cast for a long time and just kind of developed a little bit slower, so that's kind of contributed over into my golf game, because you hit your hips and your rotation and how fast you can rotate through your hips determines how good you hit the ball and the direction you hit the ball. So that's been a challenge in making sure that stays good in my golf game. As a freshman on varsity and compete for those top 1-2 spots was a really cool memory, and just allowed me to kind of relax and be like, we made it, through all the struggles. That was something that I really wanted to accomplish, and being able to do so was a really neat moment.
For a golfer with hip dysplasia, I would think the biggest kind of limiting factor would be the amount of walking that's required in golf if they're not able to utilize a golf cart, or that kind of twisting motion may kind of put the hip in a position where it impinges on itself. So So the bone would kind of rotate and hit part of the bone from the pelvis on the femur.
There's still, the bilateral hip dysplasia affects me and will continue to affect me throughout my life, just as I get older, and there's still things I can't do. I can't be a runner, which I love to run, so not being able to do things like that is frustrating, but I'll still always have to go to PT. I'll always have to do my stretches just to keep it in place and just to be able to walk. So.
The best part of watching Ryan overcome it, I think, was watching her be stronger than I was at times. To learn something from your child, I think, is a foreign concept. Again, I think as a parent, you're supposed to teach them. But I think through the process, and even today, I think I continue to learn from her. I'm the parent, so I'm supposed to be the strong one, but yet I think through that process, I watched her be the strong one. She was a toddler, but yet I watched her carry on as if there was nothing wrong. There's a fight within her today still that I see. She had a substantial scar from it, and I used to tell her very early on that was her battle wound. I never called it a scar. I said it was your battle wound and it was part of your story. And I think she's always ran with that. It's part of who she is, it's part of her story. Watching her continue just to use that as part of who she is and that she can overcome and be strong, I think that's kind of how she is and who she is today. I've learned a lot from her and her strength.